Well, hi everyone, and welcome to another truck hardware installation tutorial. Today we're installing universal Gatorback Mudflaps on a 2015 Ford F350. The universal Gatorback Mudflap is a fantastic product, and it is, just as it sounds, a universal flap. The downside of that is it can be a little more challenging to install. And so today we're going to walk you through what that looks like. The Mudflap is made of heavy-duty virgin rubber. It has hidden T-nuts, which is going to protect from rusting, and it's also made in Canada. Well, this installation will be broken down into 4 basic points: height, alignment, drilling, and fastening. In addition, there'll be a few minor steps, but for the most part, those are the 4 you need to remember. With all that in mind, remember, this video is intended to be a companion to the instructions provided and not a standalone. It's intended to help direct and guide and hopefully problem solve any potential issues on your path to installing your brand new Gatorback Mudflaps. Begin the installation by determining a height. In the case of our F350, we've decided to use the optional support bracket. You can find a part number for the bracket in the video description below. The support bracket's intended to provide additional structure and better contact points for installations where the vehicle has little to no lining in the wheel well. It essentially acts as a more efficient fender liner. We've also elected to use a square Gatorback flap as opposed to a half moon. The square flap comes with 2 sets of holes. As you can see in the video, the holes correlate to the mounting of the bracket. There are 2 sets of predetermined holes. This gives you the option to adjust the height of your mud flaps. Once you know the height you want to set your mud flaps at, go ahead and drill out the holes. With the holes drilled out, you can begin using the provided hardware to attach the bracket. With the bracket loosely attached, use a wrench and a ratchet to tighten. Next, using included hardware, loosely attach the L bracket. Remember not to tighten this L bracket, as it's going to give you flexibility as you make angle adjustments later. With the mud flap and bracket assembly now prepped, use an automotive jack to lift up the back end of your truck. With the extra room, go ahead and move the mud flap and bracket assembly into the wheel well. This can be a difficult step, and it may take you some time to determine the perfect location. In order to aid in that process, we use a block of wood to wedge the flap assembly in place and make minor adjustments from there. Once you feel comfortable that the assembly is seated correctly and in the right location, go ahead and use a C-clamp to hold the bracket in place. When it comes to installing self-tapping screws, keep in mind that some areas of the wheel well are easier to install in than others. The red area in the animation diagram is a good example of an area that's a little more difficult to install a screw into. Once you've taken a look at the lip of your own vehicle and have determined a good place to put a screw, go ahead and insert a screw near the top of the mud flap. With the screw now inserted in the top, you're ready to move on and set your angle. When it comes to setting the angle, there's a couple things to keep in mind. You want to make sure the mud flap looks its absolute best while also ensuring maximum coverage of the tire. This can be a tedious process, and we again use a block of wood as a wedge to make minor adjustments. We also ensure the truck is on level ground and make use of a square. It can help you make minor adjustments that your eyes can't. Moving on, now that your height and alignment are set where you want, we're now ready to move on to additional fastening. Take note of what you see in the video as we inserted the first 2 screws through the factory liner and into the steel backing. Taking a look at the video, you can see our installer will insert fasteners. Watch carefully where he inserts them and make adjustments as needed on your own vehicle. The position of the L bracket will affect the parallel angle of the flap. You may want to move the bracket along the pinch weld to find the best spot before inserting the second set of screws. Once you've installed the 4 fasteners, you can tighten the L bracket to the primary bracket. Next, we installed 2 more self-tapping screws through the mud flap and into the lip. Again, be very careful where you install self-tapping screws as to avoid damage to your vehicle. The final step is optional, but we have elected to paint the hardware with black rock guard. Take care not to get it on the paint. And with that, the installation should be completed. We hope you're happy with your new Gatorback Mudflaps, and thanks again for choosing Truck Hardware.